And welcome to Find a Job Fridays. I'm your host, Chip Evans from America Matters Media, and this is a joint project of America Matters Media and Join Inc. here in the state of Nevada, but it's meant for all of you anywhere across the country here. And what we do is we give you advice and counseling and give you an opportunity to talk to some professionals on how best to find a job, whether you're unemployed, whether you're underemployed, whether you're just sick of the job that you've got and you want to find something else. All of it applies, right?
Right.
So welcome to the set, Laynette and Renie.
Welcome. Thanks, Chip. We're happy to be here. And today last week we talked about the 5 worst ways to look for a job. And we didn't want to leave people hanging. So we do have good news. There are some great ways to look for a job. And we'll just kind of hop right in with number 5 of the 5, asking your network for job leads. There's some finesse to doing this, but what this is all about is using the people you know. That could be your close friends, your family, your children's friends, people at church, people you used to work with. The list goes on, all the way to the people you interact with but maybe don't know really well, like your barber, your landlord, other people that you interact with but maybe don't call friends per se. They can still be wonderful resources for you. But as I said, there's a kind of a way to finesse this. It's not just going up to people and saying, I'm out of a job, who do you know? Or
I need a job.
I need a job, any job. You have to learn how to talk about yourself, but first and most importantly, how to listen to other people. Ask them how things are going for them, what's new in their lives. If it's somebody that you don't know well, you can ask them how their business is going. And almost always when you are interested first in other people, then they become interested in you and reciprocate with something like, and how about you? How is it going for you? Or what do you do? What's going on for you?
You know, this reminds me that this is a little bit of the standard courtship thing. This is Find a Date Fridays. I think it's the same process, right? Show a little interest before you tell them what you want, right?
Many crossovers.
What do they say to guys? Compliment her shoes.
Good luck with that. Okay.
Yes, so show interest. Be interested in others, and that's really the key before you ask them for something.
You know, part of this actually does relate to, it's about relationship.
Yes.
And you want to create a constructive relationship and a mutual relationship, and you're not going to take advantage of it right off. You know, you can do that with lots of people. Some of my best friends are bank tellers that I go to regularly to make deposits and withdrawals, and I get to know them, and they get to know me, and things are good, and you make friends out of them. And so, you know, it's a lifestyle to begin with. If you're a hermit and you're unemployed, you know, you're going to have to learn some skills here.
Yes.
Well, you know what, Chip? Deposits and withdrawals is a great metaphor for the relationship building that you do when you're networking. Before you can make any withdrawals or requests, you have to make a few deposits by being interested, by being helpful. Maybe there's something you can do to help them, or just listening to people, because a psychologist friend of mine used to say, every human being's greatest desire is to be known and listened to. So listening to others is a great gift.
And Renie, a lot of people, when you first talk to them, say, well, I don't really have a network, right? Isn't that usually, they don't think of this sphere of humanity that they interact with regularly?
Well, certainly not beyond immediate family and friends. We had one client that when we were posing the question of, well, who are the people that you know that you can contact and ask for either a letter of recommendation or, let them know that you're out of work. And he just looked at me and said, they're all dead. I said, no, they're not all dead. He goes, no, really, they're all dead. And I said, that's not even possible. They're going to be your age and you're still here. So I think we need to work on this. And that just really demonstrates how shy a lot of people can be and embarrassed to some degree about the fact that they're unemployed.
And getting over that embarrassment is actually one of the key hurdles, right?
It really is.
You have to kind of accept where you are and realize other people have been there, and this isn't, this isn't the plague.
Yeah. And if ever there was a time to feel like you're certainly in good company, it's been the last 5 years, because so many people, good people, hardworking people, talented people, have been out of work not because of anything they did, but because of the economy. Yeah. So any embarrassment that people are harboring about being unemployed, really, you must let go of that now, so that you can be effective in your job search and really get to the point of being able to share your talents and your knowledge in an environment where you can get paid.
And this gentleman that I was referring to a moment ago,
with all the dead friends,
all the dead friends, actually got 5 letters of recommendations when he sat down, and we actually helped him, showed him how to go about doing this with a bit of finesse.
Just one more word before we leave the topic of network. A lot of people don't realize that their friends and family know them professionally only at a very narrow basis. So their children, even their spouse, may know enough about them to say where they work and what they do on a very kind of basic level. But getting any deeper than that, talking about what actually they do that brings value to that company in their department every day. Even spouses often don't know the answer to that question. And that's why it's really important, when you start thinking about your network, to start with the ones closest to you. And yes, they know you're unemployed, but sit down with them for a minute and give them the information that they would need to recognize an opportunity for you if it hit them in the face.
And that also brings up, you don't want to just say, I need a job.
Right.
You're going to have to be a little more specific of what you're looking for, so you can prompt a useful answer. As a matter of fact, somebody could take you down a rat hole and say, well, I know a job, and it's mowing lawns, and the guy's allergic to grass.
Yeah,
exactly. A total mismatch, right?
Which brings to mind long ago when you were unemployed, Chip, and your mom would call and say, I saw an ad in the paper for a shoe salesman. And I remember how you and I just used to look at each other and roll our eyes. She was trying to be helpful, but that was not going to be the kind of work that you do. And so actually, if we had thought about this at the time, sitting her down and saying, this is the talent that I bring, and this is what I'm trying to do in the world. And so for some people, if you're a warehouse person, there are lots of different flavors of warehouse workers, and some of them lift heavy things over their head in freezing temperatures all day, and others package not very heavy merchandise into boxes all day. There's lots of different ways that people use their talents as warehouse workers. So tell people what flavor of that you are, what would really be the best fit for you.
And then there's oftentimes if you do know a job that's interesting, can you provide me an introduction?
Yes.
And boy, that's the human-to-human, friend of a friend, inside old women's network, whatever it is, that helps open doors, sometimes for jobs that aren't even publicized. There's no ways you know about them. So.
And that's when you want to get them, is before they get posted, because then you're not in such a competitive market. This is really, like you were saying, I think last week, this is a contact sport. And so this really is about, keeping in touch with people, letting them know what you do specifically.
And another of the 5 most fruitful ways to look for work is knocking on the doors of employers or workplaces where you have an interest, where there might be something about that workplace or about that employer that interests you.
Does that not sound familiar? I mean, how many times when we recommend this, do our clients say, wow, that's what we used to do? You mean we can do it again?
Yes. The first thing out of their mouths is, oh, you can't do it. You can't do it that way anymore. They always tell you that you have to go online. Well, That is true to some extent. Lots of employers want their their formal interaction with you, that formal application, to come through their online process. But keep in mind that it's human beings who hire other human beings, and so getting to know them in some way, either through a referral or by being a customer that's interested in them and writes them a letter, getting to know an employer in some way. Actually, we call it shoe leather, knocking on the door. So,
I interviewed somebody. I was a hiring manager. And I said, well, how much do you know about the company? And he said, well, I really didn't know very much, but, I came into your office and your receptionist was very helpful. Talked about it for about half an hour. And I think I know everything that's going on here now. Go straight to the power base. Right?
Smart move.
So I think starting with your interests and looking for opportunities to work in fields that interest you. So where you have skills that can be useful to them. So warehouse people can find lots of fields that where there are companies that use warehouses, or people with computer skills and secretarial skills can work in many different fields. Pick one that is of most interest to you and go knock on their door.
Hey, we're going through the 5 best ways to hunt for a job, drawn from the Job Hunter Survival Guide by Richard Bolles. We're talking with Laynette Evans and Renie Bonar of the Join Career Center. We'll be back after these messages to get some more terrific hints on how to find a job.
Northern Nevada's Building and Construction Trade Council is working for a better community for all of us.
We've been partners with local contractors since 1928 to provide qualified, safe, and productive workers. Workers trained in the latest technologies and methods to perform the highest standards of quality and efficiency.
We save taxpayers money by assuring union workers and their families have medical insurance and pension benefits, so they won't need public assistance. We also work to keep unqualified contractors with their shoddy work practices from building our bridges, schools, and public buildings.
Our Building and Construction Trades Council supports good jobs in our community. Jobs with a livable wage, basic health and retirement benefits, a safe work environment, and the pride that comes from knowing we are building a better Northern Nevada.
For more information about our local Building and Construction Trades Council, go to bctnn.org. That's bctnn.org. Or call 775-355-9200.
Support the quality contractors who employ skilled union tradesmen. We build it right the first time.
Your family's concerns are of the utmost importance to you. After all, what's more important than the well-being of those you love? It's the same when it comes to your home mortgage or refinancing needs. Having the proper mortgage in place is one of the most important steps your family can take. Why trust those crucial decisions to chance? The time to choose the right mortgage consultant is before you need one. As one of Reno's leading mortgage consultants, helping families like yours isn't just their job, it's their commitment. Your home is one of the most important investments you'll ever make. The last thing you need is a loan that will just do. You need a loan that will work for you today as well as protect you tomorrow. Friendly and experienced loan officers Carrie Johnson and Royal Kukoff are standing by to take your calls. Movement Mortgage is conveniently located at 985 Demonte Ranch Parkway, number 130 in South Reno, 775-562-1026. Tell them you heard this ad and receive a free credit report. 775-562-1026. License number 3401.
Come check out one of the Truckee Meadows' best-kept secrets, the Reno Town Mall.
Located across the street from the Atlantis Casino Resort.
The Reno Town Mall is just steps from the Reno Sparks Convention Center and is home to a variety of merchants, including a full-service grocery store, food source.
Other tenants at the Reno Town Mall include the Washoe County Library,
Burlington Coat Factory,
Marcel's Bridal,
A Proper Fit Footwear,
and Access to Healthcare Network.
This unique urban mall will fit in perfectly with your busy lifestyle.
Stop at the Aroma Club Cafe for your morning coffee or perhaps a quick business lunch at Round Table Pizza.
The Reno Town Mall is also home to the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority,
Northern Nevada Job Connect,
the Great Works of China Import Store,
and America Matters Media. Come join the audience as we record live radio shows. Stop by the Reno Town Mall today for the best Reno has to offer.
Welcome back to Find a Job Fridays with Renie and Laynette from Join. We are the career coaches in the Join Career Center. And today we're talking about the 5 best and most fruitful ways to look for work. And we're taking this from Richard Bolles' book, The Job Hunter's Survival Guide. So we're down to the third most fruitful. And Renie, why don't you lead us off with that?
Well, we touched base on this a little bit with the last one that we had spoken about. And this is actually utilizing a variety of ways to find employers that may actually have an opening, or companies that you feel like you'd like to touch base with and find out more about their operations and points of interest. So this is an area where, again, you can use the old-fashioned yellow pages to look at different types of companies that you would like to target and touch base with, or there's other means by which you can find these employers as well. You can go to the library, and they have got apps there that you can utilize. You can come to join. We've certainly got plenty of those.
Yes, we do.
It's the one that you use most often in the Career Center.
Yes, there's a tool called the Employer Locator, and it's on a website called Career InfoNet. So that's a great tool for finding, for using different keywords to search for a list of employers. So you could search by your skills or job title keywords. You can search by the field that it's in. You can search by location. There are lots of different ways to do searches and come up with employers. There's also lists of employers that you can use. So
we've got the big book of lists
that Reno publishes every year.
Yeah.
And then there's also, for example, a list of Chamber of Commerce members. So lots of different ways to find employers. And I just wanted to tell a story because as we were reviewing some of these methods with our job club members just yesterday, one of them said, wow, she said, I actually did this when I started my job search, and I called lots of employers and really didn't get anything, but one of them was a great hit. And as I was talking about what I do, which is administrative assistant work, the person on the other end of the line said, well, that's what I do, and I'm going to be leaving my job pretty soon. You sound like you might be a pretty good candidate. So she actually landed an interview through that phone call, and I think she said she landed 2 or 3 that way. So it sounds a little bit old-fashioned. It's what people used to do, and it still works. In fact, the success rate published in this book is 69%, meaning that out of 100 people searching this way, 69 of them would be getting jobs, as compared to out of 100 people searching on the internet and applying online solely, just doing that, about 7 of them. So see the power of this, how much greater it is. And it's really back to what you said earlier, Chip. It's a contact sport, so different ways of contacting employers.
Well, that sounds terrific. So Yellow Pages, you can go back to the online to do the categories and target folks. And,
yes, sure you can.
Yeah, and one of the things you're doing here is you're taking away the shotgun and putting a finely tuned instrument at your target there. So this is a lot better return on your investment of time.
It's still a little bit of a shotgun because you're still a bit, you have a target of where you might want to work, whether you've chosen it by geography or field. And so in that way, it's more targeted. On the other hand, the advantage is it's mining what we call the hidden job market. Not every employer you speak to is going to have an opening that day, but some will. Someone will have quit or been fired or moved on, got promoted. And what this does is it puts you in a position to know about that as it's happening. We had another client who used this method, and she wanted to work in a restaurant, and she called a local restaurant during the busy lunch hour, I wouldn't have recommended this, but what happened was she reached the owner right at the moment when he was feeling stressed. And he said, "Are you looking for work?" And she said, "Well, yes, I am looking for work." He says, "Well, come on in at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock and I'll talk to you." And by golly, she had a job the next day.
The answer to pain.
That's right.
That's right. Ease their pain.
That's a lot of it too. And we find that also, people or, our clients in particular, they really need to know how to approach these different businesses in relationship to doing their research as to whether or not, they've got something that's going to be open. These kinds of things that Laynette mentioned, they happen in any kind of economic situation, no matter where you live, what city, what state, how many people live there, what kinds of businesses there are. These kinds of things go on all the time. And so there's always going to be some vacancy, some job opening for many different reasons. And I think a lot of times we get into that mindset of, there's just nothing out there. But they just didn't mine it the way they needed to in order to discover the availability of the jobs that are out there that have never been posted.
Once upon a time, I actually worked in human resources at Hewlett-Packard and was involved in the employment function there. And one of the things that I remember from then that I suspect is true now is that many times the people that will be most interested in hiring you are your previous employer's competitors.
There you go.
It's in the same field.
Sure.
They think, they may have some best practices over that other company that if we brought you in, maybe we can figure out how that works and you can add a little something to what we're doing here. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to violate any non-disclosure or non-compete clauses they might have had in a contract or something. But, very often if you lose a job at a car dealership for some reason, there are other car dealerships that are doing pretty much the same sort of work and work that network.
That's right.
And many people move from dealership to dealership in that industry over time. And,
yes.
And there's a whole network of humanity involved there. And, consider, who your competitors were from your previous company.
And I also think it's important that they know how to go into a conversation. It's more than just going into an employer and saying, "I need a job, any job, please give me a job," because the employer just shuts down at that point. The better way to go about this is to start asking questions about their business, what they do, how it's doing, be more question able, we like to say, and more curious about the things that are going on in their business first, and then relating to the skills and talents that you have that fill a need for what it is that they might be looking for. I mean, gosh, we've even had some situations where an employer didn't have an opening but created a job because one of our clients went in more of relating better at how they can serve them and help them in their business in a problem area, and actually had a job created for them out of that.
Wow, that's a terrific story.
Isn't that great? Yeah. So I just want to reiterate, that's a 69% success rate for using that method, and I just highly recommend that.
Now, by the way, that is closely related to the one that we were discussing before as far as knocking on the door of any employer that interests you. This is a way of you identifying which ones interest you and finding, the path in.
Yes.
Now, I suspect we're going to save this for another show, but this is also the point where you hop online, and if you're on LinkedIn, find out the names of people that work in that company that you're targeting, that you've decided, I'd like to go give a shot to get into this organization.
That's actually one of the other resources that people can use to do exactly this thing. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. And I think we should talk about this on another show, how LinkedIn is really a tool for getting found. These tools that we're talking about today are more about putting yourself out there so that, and putting yourself in a place where people can hire you. When you're on LinkedIn and you're on it in the right way, then you're there to be found, because recruiters would much rather find you using keywords, key search terms, and contact you directly rather than sifting through 500 or 1,000 resumes and applications.
And I do want to confirm, I get job offers. I've got a position I'd like to talk to you about for my LinkedIn profile. So it does happen.
It does.
It does. Yeah. I was talking with a gal who's her company is going through a merger in Silicon Valley, and she said that she's had 2 phone calls in the last couple of weeks by recruiters who have found her. And she doesn't even have a great LinkedIn profile. So I really encourage people to use LinkedIn and maximize their profile so they can get found and build relationships, because again, it's all about relationships.
And we have classes at Join that are hosted by ProNet, our sister company, that can help get the basics of LinkedIn down pat, because it can be a little complicated and a bit intimidating for those who have never been on it before. So we've got the resources to help them get on and become successful at it.
Great point.
Okay, well, we're moving up the scale here. We just finished number 3. Now to the second best way to find a job.
Well, the second best way is working with others in a job club. So that's one of the places where Join really stands out, because we have an outstanding job club. And maybe when we come back from the break, we can talk about that, Chip.
Yes, and interestingly enough, these job clubs, sprung out of some behavioral analysis that was done back in the 70s in the day, and it is revived here in Northern Nevada by Laynette and Renie, and so you're going to want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
So this is Chip Evans, and this is Find a Job Fridays with America Matters Media and Joining.
Just like a spark in the forest. 101.3 Renegade Radio.
South Creek Pizza Company, Reno's hottest new artisan-style pizzeria, featuring the finest wood-fired brick oven pizzas, handcrafted to perfection. Made from the freshest, most flavorful ingredients, starting with the crust, a Neapolitan-style dough made from imported Italian flour, cold fermented for more than 48 hours. Each pizza is topped with a tantalizing array of the freshest, high-quality meats, sauces, and produce, along with South Creek's own mozzarella, made fresh daily. All pizzas are flash roasted in the 900-degree mixed hardwood oven, producing a caramelized taste adventure you'll savor forever. Choose from a mouth-watering assortment of handcrafted delights, like the Paradise, made with sliced pears, Niman Ranch bacon, smoked blue cheese, and topped with arugula and honey. Or for you traditionalists, try the classic with fresh Italian sausage, mozzarella, shiitake mushrooms infused with basil and garlic. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday, South Creek Pizza Company is located at 45 Foothill Road in the South Creek Shopping Center in South Reno. Stop in with your friends and family and enjoy a festive flavor journey at South Creek Pizza Company, Reno's finest artisan-style pizzeria.
Let me tell you about a Proper Fit, located right here in Reno Town Mall, and the only distributor of a flip-flop that is sweeping this nation right now. It's made by a company called T-Rox, T-E-R-O-X. You can't miss it. It is the softest sandal that has ever been on anyone's foot throughout this nation of ours. I want you to give a Proper Fit a call right now. Their telephone number is area code 775-323-3757. Mention Nevada Matters and you'll get 10% off the T-Rox soft sandals, made, more importantly, right here in the United States of America. They also carry safety composite toe, work boots, athletic shoes. We're talking Keen, Converse, Wolverine, Skechers, Golden Retriever, and Rock Sport. Give them a call, 775-323-3757.
LT Automotive, a family-owned, full-service automotive repair shop offering comprehensive automotive maintenance and repair for all foreign and domestic vehicles. As a Napa Auto Care Center, they take pride in offering their customers quality auto repair at a fair price. Their ASE-certified technicians go from start to finish to repair your car, truck, or van, no matter what the problem. And at LT Automotive, you're never charged for your first half hour's worth of labor. LT Automotive, 669 Linden Street in Reno, just off Kitsky Lane. Find their website at ltreno.com.
Leave your footprint in the neighborhood you serve with Charter Media's new Smart Targeting. Promote your business to the entire Reno market. Or focus on your local neighborhood. This cutting-edge technology enables you to reach the right customers with the right message, based on where they are, who they are, and what they like. Visit chartermedia.com/footprint for more information. Charter Media. Long live your business.
And welcome back to Find a Job Fridays with Renie Bonar and Laynette Evans. And Chip is our host. Welcome back, everybody. This has been a wonderful dialogue and conversation about the best ways to go about finding work. And I think when it's all said and done, we'll discover that there are many different ways of finding work, and we need to look at the utilization of most of them almost all at the same time.
Yes, yeah. It's not that you shouldn't be looking online. I think that the message that we want to get across to people is that what we see people doing is using that method almost exclusively, and then languishing in unemployment land for months and even years when they could be actually using their time more fruitfully.
You know, I want to take this break. We're going into the last half hour of the program here, and wanted to invite listeners to call in with their questions. We'll be through the list here momentarily. You can call in here in Nevada at 775-827-8900. There's a toll-free number you can call in free anywhere across the United States, 855-790-8255. And if you just don't want to share your voice and phones scare you, you can text us a message at 775-557-5120, or you can email a question to talk@americamatters.us. And all of those things will come into the studio, and our amazing engineer Craig will see them, and we'll be able to share them. But I encourage you to go ahead and give us a call if you have a question, and continue on there, Lane.
Well, we were talking about the importance of being with others when you're in job search. Doing it alone, I can tell you from my own personal experience, job searching alone is not just a bummer, it's not very fruitful. So one of the best ways to do that is through job clubs, and Join actually has two very important job clubs. One is called ProNet, and that is the job club, but they don't call it job club, but that is the job club for professional people, managers, people whose jobs require a bachelor's degree, and they meet every Monday morning. They network with each other, they share their successes, they also share their pain with each other because, as we all know, job searching is a pain. But it's such a much better way to pursue a job search, get help from other people, help others with the skills and knowledge that you have, and share contacts, share information about companies. It's just really a successful thing. At Join, we also have a job club, and our job club serves people who are not in the management sphere. Most of the folks in our job clubs are clerical workers. They might be warehouse workers. They're in the healthcare fields. And what we do and what is unique about the Join Job Club is we focus on the activities that are successful in helping people find and get jobs. So we focus on making sure that their resume is targeted and it's the best they can be. We focus on making sure their interview skills are top-notch. And for that, we spend almost 2 weeks on the interview, where Renie is teaching people how to talk about themselves, how to answer tough questions, how to close an interview powerfully, and then we do a mock interview. We give them a chance to see themselves on video, to see we all have those quirky things that we do that we don't realize we're doing with our eyes or our hands or our body language, and people actually get to see themselves doing those things and analyze their answers and all of that. It's a big help, and we see huge improvement over the 2 weeks and then beyond. We give people a chance to continue to practice. So those are some of the activities, and then the job search strategies are also critically important, what we're talking about today, and giving people not just the list of what works, but also how to do that skillfully.
And we practice a lot. We practice with them a lot. We don't just throw them out there and say, good luck, here's a script. We practice day in and day out. The advantage of coming to join and being in that job club is we're there with them, holding their hand 4 days a week. So it's constant. People are, they get that constant support from us and from each other.
And they say to us, gosh, I am so glad I found you. I wish I had found you sooner.
Well, one of the things that you have is actually empirical evidence. The number of people that come in unemployed to join is X, and some of them take advantage of the job club and some don't. And I believe those that are participating in job club get jobs at kind of 2 and 3 times the rate.
About twice the rate of those who don't participate in job club. Yeah.
And it meets a human need. First off, there's the constant training, the constant practice, and it helps people get out of their head a little bit and realize, okay, I'm preparing myself for this next thing, which is to find a job, and helps push back wallowing in what was and the fact that I lost a job. And that's a huge emotional human thing. It's not something that happens easily on your own.
No.
It's very easy to get isolated when you're unemployed and feel like you failed somehow, even if your brain's telling you, well, it's a downturn. They had to cut off a third of their workforce, and I was in that third. How much should I beat myself up for that? You know?
Well, and Renie and I have been through the job search process ourselves. We know how frustrating and lonely it can be. And so we have become the encouragers in chief, so to speak, when it comes to working with our clients. We can see how hard they're working. Not every interview ends up in an offer, but when someone continues to get good interviews and their interview process is getting better and better, their search process is getting better and better, we can notice that maybe before they can, because all they can see is the last thing that didn't work out. So we spend a lot of time helping people see what their gifts and their strengths are.
Well, I appreciate, I've heard a lot of stories about what goes on there. And so I know you're encourager in chief and, hugs and encouragement and all that sort of stuff. And occasionally there's a boot involved. Yeah. And let's be honest here. Sometimes people just need a kick in the butt to say, just go try this. I know you think you know how that works. I know you think you know how you're going to do in this case, but please just try this.
Yes. When we have to put the boots on, we do. And but it's not very often, but on occasion somebody needs that little extra push. And oftentimes it's simply because they're afraid. They're just afraid that, it's just not going to work out well. So we have a rather famous saying there, nobody has died doing this.
That's comforting.
And it is comforting.
Well, I think the other dynamic that exists there is that, when you're in a room of 5 people and all of them are encouraged to do something, you're sitting there looking at the other 4 saying, well, I could probably do it better than that guy can. and if he can make it work, I could do it. And there's just this sense that this is all doable, really. I mean, at the end of the day.
And I think you've tapped in on something really important, that successes, even the small ones, can be very contagious. So when someone makes a phone call and gets an interview as a result, other people look at that and say, well, okay, I could have done that. And when someone finally is able to release their fear or their embarrassment about being unemployed because they're with us among a dozen other people who also are struggling through those same things, that's the power of the group, and the contagious nature of seeing people, even in small ways, be successful, seeing them improve their self-esteem, their outlook, their interview skills, all of that. We can watch it happen right in front of us.
Now, I know you did a lot of research before launching into this job club, and continue to do research on the job club model. And there's some things to know about this. I mean, this is not just a let's get together and self-help group sort of thing. Although there's some elements of that, it turns out it's really based on behavioral science.
Yeah. So for people who really like to know the source and resource of all of this, it's a guy named Nathan Azrin. He is a behavioral psychologist, and in the 70s and 80s, Azrin was researching how to apply behavioral principles to the process, because job searching and job finding is a process. How to apply those principles to the process of job search, and he put together a large number of trained facilitators who went out and created job clubs in a very controlled process and gathered data about how they were successful. And there were really two most important things in terms of what the job seekers did. One was getting interviews. After a few interviews, maybe one or two, about 20% had jobs. After 26 interviews, almost 100% of his sample had jobs. So we present that in Job Club and say to our members, okay, what's the message? What's the most important thing for you to do? It's getting interviews. And it doesn't matter how you get them, really, as long as you get them. So some people find that they're very successful just walking in. And we say, if it works for you and it's still working, go do that. So walking in the door and putting on your best interview face and clothes and asking to speak to a manager. And many times that results in an interview, and sometimes it results in a job offer. So that may work for some people. Sending out letters and presenting themselves in writing might work best for others. Every person has a different targeted method based on what kind of work they're looking for, what kind of businesses they're targeting, all of that.
I still have this dating model in my head. So the word, if you kiss 26 frogs, you will find a prince. We'll be back after these messages from our sponsors to talk a little bit more about the 5 best ways to find a job.
You love it, and you know it. 101.3 Renegade Radio.
Thanks for inviting me to lunch. Say, how's your business doing?
Much better now. I got a new CPA named Larry Bigler. He's really helped me turn things around.
Yeah, but does he take you out to golf once a year like my CPA?
No, when Larry and I meet, we focus on building my business. His staff is even handling our bookkeeping and payroll for us.
Really? My CPA and I never talk business. It's too depressing.
Well, you ought to give Larry Bigler a call.
Hello, I'm Certified Public Accountant Larry Bigler. Call me old-fashioned, but I believe my clients deserve excellent strategy and good service, always provided at a good value. My CPA, tax, payroll, and bookkeeping firm has helped hundreds of businesses and individuals in Northern Nevada, and I know we can help you as well. Call me today for a free consultation at 323-8131. That's 323-8131. Or visit my website at larrybigler.com.
Hey, Debbie.
Hi, Mike.
What have you been up to?
I just got back from High Point Coffee and Cafe. Pop and I had a great lunch.
High Point? Where's that?
3687 Kings Row. At the corner of Kings Row and McCarran. You know, the Viewcrest Shopping Center.
Oh, yeah. What kind of food? And do they have good coffee?
They make the best coffee and great fresh food. They make all their pastries and bagels from scratch every day, and they also have a full breakfast and lunch menu.
I think I've heard of them. Are they the ones that do that 3-course brunch?
Yep, and it's so eclectic each time. I feel like I'm in a different restaurant every time we go. Plus, they have free Wi-Fi, and they're kid-friendly, so you don't have to worry about your kids while you're eating.
Well, I'll have to check them out. Thanks for the tip, and my best to Papa.
Thanks, Mike. See ya.
High Point Coffee and Cafe, 3687 Kings Row, at the corner of Kings Row and McCarran, across the street from the fire station in the Viewcrest Shopping Center.
Nevada's wild horses are disappearing from our rangelands at an alarming rate. Every day, horses are rounded up, captured, sold, and sent off to be cruelly slaughtered for food overseas. The horses you see out your window today could end up on someone's dinner plate tomorrow. We simply must do something to save them. This great country was built on the backs of the horses. They helped us plow our fields, pull our wagons, and they deserve all the dignity and respect afforded other American icons. The horse helped us craft this nation we know and revere today. This is country music star Lacey J. Dalton. I have dedicated my life to save Nevada's wild horses, but I cannot save them without your help. Your generous donations are the only chance some of these horses have. Visit letemrun.com for more information. Join me. Nevada's wild horses are disappearing from our rangelands at an alarming rate. Visit letemrun.com.
And you're listening to the fabulous Find a Job Fridays with the Career Center crew from Join Inc., project with America Matters Media. I'm Chip Evans. Laynette Evans and Renie Bonar are here. And we're going through the 5 best ways to find a job. And we have just finished number 2, which was working with others in a job club. And we talked about job clubs and the behaviorally based job clubs. Is there anything else you want to say about that, Laynette?
I think just that I hate to see people trying to job search alone. It's so much more helpful to be with other people who are going through what you're going through. And then what we provide are 2 experienced career coaches that are very positive and can really help you figure out what you might need to do differently in your job search so that you can be successful as well. So that's really the message about job clubs. Very important.
Okay. Well, now we're in the number 1, the highest success rate way to find a job. Renie?
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 drum roll.
This is a big one. It is really all about doing homework on yourself and truly understanding where your transferable skills lie. A lot of people, when they're unemployed, they can't see the forest through the trees. It's like they think that they have to just go back to what they once did, and that might not be an option for them anymore. Or perhaps they just need to update their skills. But it's really getting a clear and focused idea of what it is that they know how to do that can be transferred into several different kinds of occupations within their fields of interest. So we have assessments that we do at Join that help with those things. It helps their representative that they're working with at Join. It helps Laynette and I take a look at where their strengths lie and what kinds of talents they would bring to the table and their preferences, actually, because I like to say that today it takes as long to get a crappy job as it does to get a good one. So you might as well target something that you are going to be happy with and feel fulfilled and passionate about, as opposed to just taking something that you have to do. So these assessments are very, very helpful. And I know from personal experience, because when I was unemployed, I had done a certain kind of work for 22 years. And when you're at something that long, it really is hard to step away and just take a look at what your other options might be. And I had the good fortune of finding my way to Join and took the, I think at the time it was called the Career Coach. And I tell you, it just opened the door for me, which was how I was able to see that I had transferable skills where I could be a case manager or a Join representative, because it was the coaching, the mentoring, the walking people through, the holding their hand, and the mentoring them to success that were the same kinds of things that I had done in my past life. So
I just want to react to what you said, Renie, because I think this is something I certainly felt myself, and I see it again and again with a lot of the people that we work with. People begin to identify themselves as their job or their career. And I was in HR for more than 20 years, so I started thinking of myself as an HR professional. There's pieces of that are still with me, and I use a lot of the skills and knowledge that I gained in that profession every day in my work as a career coach. But I am not HR. I am Laynette Evans, and I think people have a tough time letting go of that and just looking at, okay, what are the things that are really the essence of what I'm good at and what I love to do, and being able to boil it down to, instead of I am HR, I'm great at listening, I'm great at coaching people, I'm great at, helping others, and those are things I love to do.
We have a text message here. Mike is asking, can you give us some examples of career changes from one field to another?
Using transferable skills. Well, I think Renie and I have given examples from our own life. Renie was a designer and then was a trainer of interior designers, and I was in HR. Now we both are career coaches and certified as career coaches. And so the transferable skills that we're talking about are those skills that have to do with teaching, mentoring, listening, encouraging. So that's one thought. We've seen Renie, can you think of a specific one right now?
Well, and those are the things that we're very passionate about. So we're a lot less about titles than we are about the actual skill sets and talents, natural talents. We spend a lot of time looking into natural talents of our clients as well. We have had, let's see, there's so many of them. It's hard to just pick one.
Well, I want to conjure some out of you. I know that there have been a number of folks that were displaced out of the hospitality industry as casinos cut back. So there were people that were dealing cards, there were people that were bartenders, and some of those, I remember a story about a bartender who came out of there and said, well, geez, that
particular guy actually ended up leaving the state, and he's still a bartender. So, but he found success in another geography. His issue was age, and so, but he had such great professional skills. So he went to a place where youth wasn't quite so important. That's a piece of what we help people do, is figure out as you mature, there may be new venues that are more appropriate for the person that you are now. You're not going to succeed if you're a cocktail server, for example. You're not going to succeed in an environment that values 21-year-olds in skimpy outfits if you're 50. You can still serve. You might just need to do it in a different venue. But speaking of transferable skills and interests, someone that comes to mind is a client of ours who went through our program called What Color is Your Parachute? It is Richard Bolles' workbook. And in the end, the things that kept coming up for her was she loved working in the dirt. She loved working with plants. She loved worms and weird stuff to me, but it all came back to she really wanted to do things in the garden, and so she decided to pursue landscaping as a field for her. Now, sometimes when people decide to make those big kinds of changes, they need what we call a bridge job. So something that can bring in income that they have the skills to do while they're working on either building their own business or maybe going back to school and gaining those more long-term skills that it take them some time to do. Another example was somebody who's really good at math and detail, who left, I think it was the construction industry, and went into being a pharmacy tech because that drew on his math and detail oriented skills. So those are a few examples. I hope that helps Mike, who called in. Well,
I think it does give people a little sense of the possibilities to hear these stories, and real human beings, real lives that face this barrier in one field and figured out, ooh, I've got a place I can go and still be happy.
Yeah, some people think that there needs to be a wall between their private life, their personal life, and their work life or their professional life. And really, one of the richest places to look for how you can contribute value is, what are you passionate about in your personal life? Where do you get juice and energy in your personal life? And hobbies, activist activities, what are you involved in, and how might you convert that into a career?
Maybe clubs that they have been in, in the past, that have certain kinds of activities that they love. One of the examples that comes to mind, we had one of our more mature clients who had been a bookkeeper for over 30 years. and had not worked in 3. And so finally, Coca-Cola hired him. He made through 3 interviews. So everybody was pretty much on the same page with skills and talents. But when he got in there, he couldn't keep up with the new pace of how businesses are run today. So he was a bit deflated when he came back to us, and we said, well, why don't you think about getting something that you'd like to volunteer in, and let's see how it goes. And so he went down to the facility that's on Record Street, and because he liked to take people and place them, make sure that they got to the right place at the right time and those kinds of things. So it was a little bit of a receptionist sort of position, and he came back in and said, oh my God, I love this. I just love how all of this is being done, and they eventually hired him.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, going that volunteer to employee route, it does happen. Mm-hmm. And if it comes from your passion, people see it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I think, Renie, you know this client a little better than I do, but there was a young man who had some legal barriers, who was having trouble finding work, and he had volunteered in I forget where, but he finally ended. It was a warehouse sort of situation, and they were able to see his work ethic, and that helped him get a job without the barrier getting in the way, because they already knew him. They already saw that he was a hard worker and trustworthy.
That's great. Well, hey, before we leave today, Renie, tell people about Join Inc. and what it is.
Well, we are a federally funded nonprofit organization that specializes in training. And so the best thing to do is to come to our orientation. We host one every Monday at 10 o'clock a.m. And we are located at 1201 Terminal Way on Terminal and Vassar.
And there are joint offices scattered around the state in Elko and...
Ely, Winnemucca, Fernley, Fallon, Carson City, and ProNet, and then the Join Reno office where we're from.
So slightly different services in some of the different offices, but a great network to support you in your job search for a job. So these federal funds are available to train you, to sharpen your skills, get you ready for the job market, so take advantage of it.
Let me give the phone number, 775-336-4450.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Tell your friends that are looking for jobs to tune in again next week here at America Matters Media at 1 p.m. on Fridays.